Hey guys, welcome back. So here's our version 1 fan board we went over on the last video, and today we're going to try to get this assembled. So here's our bare board. Over here to the left, we got a few components, some diodes, MOSFETs, gate drives, and a power regulator. And up here we got some solder paste and a little needle to help dispense it, and a pair of tweezers. So this is a pretty straightforward process. I do have a stencil printer, and maybe I should have got a stencil made for this board, but we didn't. So we're going to hand assemble this, and we're going to put the paste down ourselves. So yeah, that'll be the next step. We'll just clean the board with some IPA, and then I'll put the paste down, and I'll bring y'all back after that. So here's our board. Just got done putting the solder paste down, so you can see gray paste everywhere. So I only did the surface mount components, so all the things with big holes, those are through-hole components, and solder those with a regular soldering iron. But this paste makes the rest of the soldering a lot easier, because now I can take this pair of tweezers, grab the parts, just drop them down where they go, and they land in that solder paste. And that paste is basically got the solder and flux all mixed together. So once all the parts are down, you just kind of line them up where they go. I have a reflow oven I built. So just take the part, throw it in the oven, and about 10 minutes later, all the surface mount components will be soldered. So zoom in a little bit so you can kind of see this. It's not perfectly pretty, but this is fine. You can see little blobs everywhere. You can see there. So it looks kind of messy, but the thing is, when you put this in an oven, it all melts and smears out anyway, and then magically reflows and looks pretty good when it's done. So yeah, here we go. Next, we're going to put all the parts down. So I'll show you a shot of that once all the surface mount components are placed. Going to do that with hands with the tweezers next. Okay, so it's been about an hour and we got all the surface mount components placed. So the paste is down, the pieces are there. Still got to run it through Reflow, but kind of go over the board real quick so you can see what it looks like. Just try to get these parts as straight as we can on the board. They actually don't have to be perfect. A lot of times when it goes through Reflow, the tension of the molten solder actually lines the components up. So you'll see they're fairly straight right now. They'll probably be better after Reflow. So you can see that one chip right there. I think I put too much paste, might have some solder bridging on that. But no big deal, we can fix that if we do. So, here we go. We'll run this through Reflow. I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. Here's a quick shot of the board. I just put it in the Reflow oven. So, about to shut the lid and hit the go button. In about 5 or 10 minutes, we'll have a board that's all soldered. So here we go. This is a Reflow I built, and it uses a Controlio kit. It's pretty simple. Just click Reflow and start Reflow, and that's it. This thing runs until the board's done. So right now we're at 85C and climbing. Still looks about the same. Solder paste hasn't really started to melt yet, but it will be soon. We'll keep this going. It's starting to melt a little. So yeah, basically you've got your paste down, and as it heats up, it'll kind of flow outward, but it'll float on top of the mask. And eventually, as it melts, it'll all shrink back to the part. So that's what we'll see. Now we're at 103 Celsius. So you'll see the fans in the background. This is just keeps. So this is just a toaster oven that's been converted to a Reflow oven, and I added some heating elements. So this fan's running. You can see two fans and a thermocouple. Thermocouple is for temperature feedback. The fans just keep the air moving. Try to get as even of temperature distribution throughout the oven as possible. And this uses convective heat instead of infrared, so a lot easier to get even temperature control doing it this way. So we can see the paste over time is getting wider, kind of spreads out. We're 133C right now. ramping to 165. So in the foreground right here, this is one of our gate drives. We can see the components are kind of not quite lined up. Whenever the reflow happens, if we're lucky, you'll see these things straighten out. Currently at 150C and climbing. See how these solder pastes have a specific temperature profile you're supposed to follow? So it kind of ramps up slowly to kind of get the whole board up to temp. And then towards the end it kind of ramps quickly, brings it up to final temp, solder reflows, flux does its job. I guess in this stage the flux is cleaning. So yeah, like right around these temperatures it starts to boil the flux and it removes all the oxide layers off the components. And then right as they're getting all clean, it heats up some more and then the solder actually melts. And then that's when the solder connection is created. And now we're at 157C. So this section it's going to ramp to 165, so we're almost there. And then after that it's going to kick up into high gear and shoot up to the final temp, which is 235C. So that part's coming up. There we go, we just hit 165. So now it's basically going to turn all the heating elements on wide open for the next 15 seconds because these have a thermal resistance on the elements. So it's basically going to go into high gear, then it'll go back to PWM control and try to ramp up to the target temp of 235, and it'll be there in 60 seconds. So right now we're at 175 and climbing. And this is the part you're about to see the reflow happen, probably around 190 or so. Just coming right up. Alright, with any luck you'll see, so if everything goes smoothly, you'll see the whole board turn liquid at the same time. That means we got an even temperature distribution throughout the board. So we're at 200C, 205C. There we go. You see everything melting. See those parts moving, kind of lining up. So we were talking about with that surface tension. It's always cool to watch. You see towards the left, looks like a couple of components got out of alignment. That's really no big deal, we can fix that. It's one of the downsides, I don't have a stencil, so some of these have too much solder. We're at 230C. We're just about to hit our 235. We can see the whole board's already melted. There we are at 235. We're holding. It stays here. Well, it's almost done now, but we'll stay here for about another 15 seconds, and then it'll crack the door open and shut the heating elements off and start cooling down. See if we can focus on any other spots of the board. Yeah. There we go, door's open. Cool, well, bring y'all back when this is cooled off. So here's the board after reflow. I heated up, used a heat gun to fix a couple of bad spots. So we've still got some solder bridging we're going to have to go through and fix. But here's what it looks like. You can see right there. A couple of bridged pins. Really bad right there. And that one as well. So that's our next step, is to fix any of the mistakes after reflow. Alright, we just got done soldering everything, so all the surface mount components were reflowed. Then I went and cleaned up a bunch of them because I put way too much solder paste on a lot of fine pitch components. So I went back and touched up all the solder for those. Then we did our through hole components. And here's the final product. So these little studs, these are kind of hard to solder. They turned out really nice, but what I ended up doing, I tried soldering them with a soldering iron, but I don't have enough heat, so I ended up using a heat gun. And that heats the whole part up, and then it reflows and it looks real pretty. So you get a nice connection. There's our triple fuse holders. I'm going to put some fuses in that shortly. There's our 5 little diodes, a little crooked. Oh well. There's gate drive. You can see the solder job. It's okay. It's not fantastic. Try to zoom in on that. Yeah. Kind of see that. It's okay. It's not the best. It'll do though. There's our little MOSFETs. Yeah, this area of the board is well heat sinked. When I tried to resolder those little studs, that was kind of a pain, pulling a lot of heat out of the board. Much harder to solder than they used to be. Here's the top of the board. You see we got our little connector on the side here, little 10-pin connector. Our nanos on there, little dip switch at the right. There's that original gate drive that we're keeping. So yeah, you see a little bridge there. That's actually not hurting anything. There's a trace that goes there. I'll double check the schematic, but pretty sure. There's a couple other spots on the board like that as well, like down here. Same thing, those are all connected anyway. So yeah, here's our board. We got all fully assembled now. Probably do a final inspection, and then got to get this wired up and soft power up and hopefully power it up and then begin testing, see how it does.